within 30 minutes, so you get back your 15 minutes for your day. Well, on that note, I would like to introduce Scott Bales, who is our Vice President for Solution Engineering, Implementation, and Professional Services, and the host for today's webinar. So, all over to you, Scott.
Thank you very much, Ashni. I am excited to be here as well. This has been an exciting few months leading up to 2018 and some of the content that I'm going to talk about today. So we've really put together this webinar to speak to customers in chunks around a go-to-market strategy that has changed for us, some rebranding that we've undergone. You can see from the logo here the concept of the time intelligence company is very prominent in what we're presenting to the market today, and this affects customers as well. So we wanted to take the time to have a conversation about, why we made this decision, what time intelligence means when we're talking about that as an organization, and hopefully we'll accomplish that going through the slides that we've prepared. And there is lots of time for lots of questions. Happy to cover off and stay longer if people are inquisitive and want to understand what this means to them, by all means. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. As customers, you are obviously aware you've already purchased one or more of Replicon's products, and you understand that time spent with your organization is money. This is a known item that people are discussing every day. But what is missed in a lot of organizations is what much time is really at their availability, right? Take these numbers and we think about, I like 500 employee companies because it's very easy math for me. We think of a 500 employee company, that is 1 million hours of time that is available annually for you to generate revenue, for you to service your customers. The challenge with this number of hours and the questions that organizations are asking, and maybe some of you as customers were asking these questions before you purchased a Replicon product, is really what did millions of hours get us within our organization, right? Employees are the highest cost within an organization, and that time that you are paying the employees is often lost, right? We don't know where it's gone, and the result of this Frankenstein of systems that we see here today. You have all of these purpose-built systems for different uses within your organization. You have a role system that you're using to pay staff, maybe calculate some overtime. There's some time elements in that system. An HCM system that may be tracking your exception time today, understanding vacation balances. That's another system that has a component of time. Project managers are each going to have their own systems where they're trying to manage the actuals towards their projects, maybe doing some costing, billing and invoicing out of a PSA system. All of these purpose-built systems have their own segregated time components, right? And to add to that Frankenstein is the fact that you may have on-premise hardware that you're leveraging to capture some time information. Maybe, for example, specific 3D printing prototyping hardware that you're trying to manage. You may have on-premise data. That data might be in the cloud. It might be spread across multiple databases and infrastructures. You might have access to some, you might not. So the fact that this time data exists in so many different parts of the organization makes it very hard to keep track of it holistically. Inevitably, what happens in that scenario is that time goes missing. It's just a fact. Because it's so segregated and embedded in different systems with different coding and different tracking mechanisms, it's next to impossible to ensure that you are getting a complete holistic picture of where all the time is being spent within your organization. As a result, customers are choosing to manage that scarce resource time, and in order to do that, they first of all need to analyze where time is being spent on. Okay, they need to understand where users are allocating their time And in order to do that, you need to be using a single source of truth for time capture, right? A system of record, the first system that your organization considers when it's looking for analyzing and capturing the actuals that employees are entering. They need to make predictions based on that information, analysis that you've applied, understanding, hey, if we see overtime spike at the end of a month, or if we see scheduling requirements increase, after a quarter wraps up, you want to be able to apply those predictions and use those predictions to schedule more efficiently, forecast more efficiently, staff more efficiently within the organization, learning from the predictions, and then changing processes, changing hiring patterns, changing decisions, business decisions within your organization based on this new information you have, because now you have a holistic window to the time that employees are entering. In order to do this, you need to think about and manage your time differently. And all of those things that I've talked about is the belief in what we're referring to as time intelligence. Okay? Intelligence really has 5 tenets that we're thinking about. When you change the way you think about the time within your organization, you want to think about it along these lines. You need to know time. You need to know what people are entering time to work. You can't be treating time intelligently if you don't capture this information within your system. You need to understand what it is they're doing. So capture the time data, understand what it is they're allocating those hours towards. Is it projects? Is it bench time? Is it waiting for a work order to get completed? Understand what it is the users are doing. Connect it to outcomes. So are we paying an exorbitant amount of overtime within the organization? Are we completing cases and work orders more efficiently? Are we beating out customers? Is our quote-to-cash process slow? Are we leaking revenue? Outcomes are going to be key here, because we want to make predictions about this information, or make predictions with this information, and then empower employees to change, right? You want to feed this information back to the employee, not just the end user, but the workflow of supervisors and managers all along that chain, to ensure that they are all being brought up to speed, informed, and aided, actually, in the whole process of capturing time and using and consuming that time for the outcomes that we would evaluate here. You need to see that one of the biggest benefits of the time intelligence platform and treating time as an enterprise asset within your organization is the fact that you and your competitors in the market all have the same finite amount of time to accomplish the work, right? Whether that is serving repair jobs, whether it is delivering on projects, whether it is preparing for presentations, you are all sharing the same finite amount of time. You can't add. And so managing your time more efficiently than your competitors is a competitive advantage, and it gives you an edge in the marketplace. Now, we wouldn't talk about time intelligence in a new era and evolving if we didn't talk about what's in the new era, right? So time is mobile, right? We are moving away from staff and remote office employees to computerless employees. More and more data is being driven from the mobile device. In addition to data capture being driven from the mobile device from a user's entry, we also have the ability to leverage mobile devices as an automated capture tool, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. Global, the time intelligence platform provides organizations with a global compliance framework as well, right? So in addition to considering all the automation that we can apply to this platform, there's also this global library of compliance rules when we're talking about evaluating overtime calculations in remote locations, the ability to flag and predict overtime requirements based on local geographies and their specific rules. Internet of Things, yes, it's a buzzword, but it does make a lot of sense when you think about automatic time tracking. Right? If we talk about harvesting time, and we will in a moment, when we talk about harvesting time, we don't need to force us to enter their timesheets anymore. The biggest pain that all of your supervisors and payroll people have is getting people to put the data in the system. What we are moving towards on this platform is leveraging the Internet of Things, leveraging key fobs, leveraging security records, leveraging calendars, leveraging phones and the information that's actually on the phone in your pocket to produce time cards. And then users authenticate that information, validate that information. Talking about validation, you know, artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, again, very cutting-edge terms, but applying those to the time data that we have, not just the time data that you have on the system today, but all of your historical data, so that we can see patterns, so that we can see that Vivek, you know, never comes in on the Friday before a long weekend, so that we can understand how to route approvals more efficiently to ensure that timesheets are approved in a timely manner, automatically moving those timesheets from one approver to the next when they're unable to comply. So again, lots of exciting things coming out on this platform in the coming months. So that platform is presented here in a graphic, and we'll drill into each element. The far right side being the capture and the harvesting of that information, the far left being the potential usage, consumption of that data to different needs within the organization. Starting at the far right side of the chart, we understand intelligent time knowledge, knowing your time, right? This is about harvesting that time from anywhere, any device. I mentioned it briefly, the fact that you have your meetings in a calendar. Why we force you to put your time into a timesheet if you've already got it in a calendar, or you've got it in a predefined schedule. This screenshot that you're seeing is actually our Time Intelligence app, which will be available shortly, that allows you to track what it is you are doing over the course of the day, and it will automatically do this for you, understanding travel times and other blocks of time. And you have the ability to go in and indicate whether that is working hours, whether those are personal hours, whether those are something to be costed out at a different rate. So what's exciting about this application is that timesheets may have gotten very simple. I simply go to the app and I say work, work, work. That data then drives my sheet for me. I don't have to go in and say 7 o'clock I was doing this, 8 o'clock I was doing that. The system knows and understands that. So that's one example of where we would see intelligent harvesting built into the device that's in your pocket. Processing. So once we gather data and understand it, then it's really up to the system to validate it. So the platform provides a very robust set of validations that we can apply to that information and that data, providing feedback to managers and end users about what's acceptable time capture, what's unacceptable time capture. In this situation where you are working past 5 o'clock, your timesheet shouldn't have the code that you've entered here. And that feedback is going to save a lot of work stream for approvers of payroll people. It also, speaking of payroll people and approvers, it also routes efficiently based on that as well. So based on what time has been entered, based on the fact that, hey, there are some exceptions here, but we think they're okay, so we're going to route it, we're going to allow submission and route that to the correct approvers. So the processing of that data, it also has a level of intelligence and learns over time, right? So in the event that a same exception is approved even every week, then it's no longer an exception that the system flags in the same way, because it assumes that the project manager will go ahead and approve this again. Having said that, that level of intelligence is going to be a prompt situation. That's not going to hide any of this information. information from approvers or supervisors along that path. They always have the opportunity to go in and inspect, and this saves a ton of effort and the approvers and anybody involved in the workflow chain with timesheets, giving them time to work on their tasks throughout the day. Obviously, the last section is the output of this data, using the information to across a variety of different use cases, using it for billing, costing, even expenses. These are new to the people on this call. Obviously, you're all customers and consuming this data today in some of these fashions. We really see all of these different use cases falling into one of three buckets, right? So you'll see us refer to our enterprise time management feature set. That enterprise time management feature set really speaks to ending a legacy system, maybe a legacy ERP system, as make Replicon the single source of truth and the data entry point, data capture mechanism for time across the organization, and then pushing that time out to a legacy ERP. That allows legacy ERPs, which might have a huge price tag for moving to newer versions, to still be productive and allow Replicon to serve as a mobile interface, better user experience to all of the staff, while still gaining some extended life out of that legacy ERP behind the time capture. Of course, when the time comes that can't be avoided any longer, moving out that legacy ERP or whatever that back-end system may be doesn't affect the user experience. There's no change management to the users because their time intelligence platform is Replicon, and that interface doesn't change for them. The destination of that data and the consumption of that data does, but the user doesn't see any effect. Global and gross pay automation speaks to the myriad of geographies with complex payroll calculations that you are servicing either with outsourced organizations or small in-country pay vendors, and in a lot of cases those are costly and difficult. The fact of the matter is that segregates the data even further. So now it's not one payroll system that has time in that Frankenstein picture we saw. When we're talking to global organizations, they might have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different payroll systems that they're leveraging to pay employees in remote geographies, and no single source of truth for all that time, time awareness, gross pay calculations. Replicon can service that need and do so efficiently and cost effectively. The third line of functionality that we speak to when we're talking to customers is business operations software. And this is really built around the financial project accounting piece that legacy PSA solutions provide. Replica believes that managing time is key to successful project outcomes, and business operations software component will leverage features and functionality around project costing, around invoicing, billing your customers on contracts, and even the financial items around revenue recognition when it comes to financial accounting for these projects in the organization. Again, all of those things require accurate, up-to-date time actuals related to the projects, and that's why we feel like that is a key component of what Replicon can provide to our customers. So that form, and this is really the message that we're going to customers with, that you can now manage your scarcest resource, and that is people's time. The companies that we have started rolling this out in are seeing increases in a lot of different ways, everything from the accuracy of the data that they're receiving, deep revenue leakage, and even improved ROI when we're talking about the administrative inefficiencies that they were experiencing prior. Okay. Now, all you are Replicon customers, but obviously this evolution to a time intelligence platform is made possible by these metrics, right? We have tons of information, tons of experience, 1.5 million users across 70 countries. We've built and stood this up on a very stable platform with the uptime that we're seeing over the last 3-4 years. And obviously, you're serviced by a global team, physical global team of 450 plus team members. So again, this is kind of the first glimpse into where Replicon is going for 2018. It is meant to be an introduction. You will get more information as we go into the year, more of these webinars. But I wanted